sometimes in life, hopefully more than once, you meet someone who inspires you to be a better person. One of those people I've been fortunate enough to have in my life was not my teacher, but my son's preschool teacher, Maura Eden. I did not start out knowing how to worm compost. I didn't even start out knowing how to regular compost. I sort of had, shall we say, a hard time, failure at both of those things. When we got this house, I didn't know anything at all about gardening or composting. I just bought a couple of laundry baskets and filled them up with leaves and twigs and food scraps and branches. But you know what? It didn't turn to compost. It just sat there for over a year and just stayed leaves and food scraps and branches and twigs. So I was like, okay, that didn't work. But I'd heard about worm composting and how it turns your food scraps into compost so quickly. So I bought a worm factory. For some reason, very strange, the manual that came with it said that you should use glossy paper for bedding, which is exactly wrong. You should not use glossy paper. Worms hate it, and my worms hightailed it out of there, and what I was left with was a huge pile of glossy sludge, stinky, rotten food scraps, and a lot of huge white wriggly larvae. Not very pretty. And I ended up scrapping that whole thing. That was it for me. My son started preschool, and early on in the year we had like a meet and greet, and I ended up having a chat with my son's preschool teacher, Maura. We were talking about gardening, and I said, oh yeah, I tried that, and I tried worm composting, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was a big failure. And Maura said, oh, then you'll be our worm expert. What? I don't think you heard me. I said I failed. She's like, oh, you don't need to know what you're doing. You just have to be interested. What? I don't need to know what I'm doing? I don't need to know what I'm doing? It's a game changer. But at the same time, life went on. I knew that sometime in the spring, we'd be doing a worm unit with the kids. So during the winter, I thought, maybe since I'm the worm expert, I should figure out something about these worms. It just happened that I was in the toy store one day and noticed on the discount shelf this little shoebox size worm bin. And I thought, maybe it'll be easier to start learning with something this size. And it was. I could see whether the bed was too wet, too dry, whether they needed more food, less food, whether they had enough bedding. Everything was at a glance, and that really helped me to start sensing how to take care of the bin. And after that, it really was easy. So starting small was key, but the real key was Maura Eden saying, you don't have to know what you're doing. You only have to be interested. Thank you, Maura. You've changed my life.